international government. I want to welcome everyone. Islam, Islam, Islam. And let us begin, as tradition, as taught to us by the Holy Last Prophet, in these days, Nabi Ali, as a custom with our ancient forefathers, let us begin all things with prayer. Islam. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day. Through his holy prophet, Ali. Amen. From the divine Constitution of Moorish, we read from the Constitution itself, which we'll be dealing with tonight, our Supreme Law. Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the Chairman of Moorish are in power to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of Moorish America. This is the Grand Sheik to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and is known before the citizens of Moorish America. Islam. Want to welcome everyone. Our class presented for by, and actually it's mostly headed by the Grand Sheik, but I will be assisting him tonight. The chairman, Dr. L.Hugh Pleasant Bay. I want to welcome everyone to our national class, and we plan to have a lot of grounds to cover tonight more, so have your pencils and papers ready, handy, and be prepared. Islam. Our subject chapter for the week is chapter 45. It's the first of the 4 chapters of the book written by Noble Ali, The Divine Origin of the Asiatic Nations. And as you read chapter 45, please pay attention to the words of Noble Ali. Islam. The fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nation of North America need to learn to love instead of hate, and to know their higher self and lower self. This is the uniting of the Holy Quran of Mecca for the teaching and instructing all Moorish Americans, etc. The key of civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nations. The Moorish, who were the ancient Moabites and the founders of the holy city of Mecca. The Egyptians, who were the Hammatites and are a direct descendant of Mizraim, and the Arabians, the seed of Hagar, Japanese and Chinese. The Hindus of India, the descendants of the ancient Canaanites, Hittites, and Moabites from the land of Canaan. The Asiatic nations and countries of North, South, and Central America, the Moorish Mexicans in North America, Brazilians, Argentinians, and Chileans in South America, Colombians, Nicaraguans, and the natives of South Salvador in Central America, etc. All of these are Muslims. The Turks are the true descendants of Hagar, who are the chief protector of the Islamic creed of Mecca, beginning with Muhammad I, the founder of the uniting of Islam, by the command of the great universal God, Allah. Islam, Islam, Islam. With the reading of the divine origin of the Asiatic nation, we officially will declare our meeting open according to Act 2 of our additional laws. The bylaws of our divine Constitution. Allah. And again, we want to welcome everyone. Tonight's subject matter, Moors, in dealing with the divine origin of the Asiatic nation, our subject matter will be dealing with the supreme laws of Noble Ali. And the reason why we elected this particular subject matter, because oftentimes during the course of the week, we're having so many classes from the Department of Health and Healing, the sisters, and we usually try to feature our subject matter for the week so that Moors can have a communication based upon a single thought pattern of growth and development. So that's why we feature a particular subject chapter for the week, as the Prophet Noble Ali instructed us that we're here to learn to love instead of to hate. And another reason why we have our subject chapter for the week was so that we can get out of the thought pattern and derogative way of saying things and doing things, tearing down our brothers and sisters' character, tearing down the foundation before we can even build it, getting rid of before we can even escape, and so forth and so on. So for this reason, we need to have a positive education system and a positive thought pattern. general laws had to do with the area. And please, hope you have your pencil and papers ready. The area in which he first found us when he had returned from the east, meaning Egypt and the holy city of Mecca primarily, okay? When he returned at the age of 27, of course he left at the age of 16. When he returned at the age of 27, this is what he found. He found his people, the Moorish Americans, buried so deep into the 14th Amendment that no one actually knew that we had been re-enslaved after they had abolished slavery in 1865. Everybody, especially the so-called Negro of 1912, 1913, was under the illusion that they were now citizens, that slavery was over with, and they was running around, they were free. Yes, colored people thought they was free. Negroes thought they was free. Of course, there wasn't too many terms that would use the term black during those days, because anytime the word black was used, it was usually used by some other race of people, and it wasn't a pretty good sign. Okay, so most of the time during that time, the people were either colored or Negroes. That's what was acceptable. Okay, and as the decades went on, because I was born in the early 40s myself, so I was able to bear witness to the era when everybody thought it was colored and it was all right. And then to be a Negro was of supreme importance. Oh, this was a high level, a little level much higher than being a colored person. Okay, a colored person could be a person of any particular hue or substance. You could be a red bone or a dark person or whatever the case may be. So, and this was a condition that Noble Dwelly found his people in. They was under illusion that they were free, just like everybody else. They were demanding rights that all other peoples had, that called themselves citizens, and they could not understand why they had to live in or be educated in separate schools. They could not understand why their neighborhoods always had to be on the other side of the track. They could not understand why they had to be treated, even though some people try to say equal, but they had to be treated separately. Okay? But oftentimes, because they had many organizations around during that time, from the NAACP or the Marcus Garvey movement, later the Nation of Islam, many other organizations that piqued the interest or sometimes the collaboration of the so-called Negro. And this is the status that Noble Drew Ali himself, when he found his people, their minds were blown, shot, nil and void. They couldn't think. Okay? A Negro is a man-made mind. And you are what you think. You are what you accept. Okay? This is the reason why it is that today, if you wonder why it is that the Moors, with all of this knowledge that's going on today, the internet, Facebook, oh my goodness, World Wide Web, except we got cell phones and all forms of communication, and even at that, the Moors still cannot find themselves with the strength to come together as one nation of people. There's 60 million Moorish Americans here, but basically, the Moors are still in the same state today they were in 100 years ago when Noble Drew Ali first got back. I know it may sound sort of cruel to say, well, how far have you truly advanced? Well, Moors, let's look at it this way. From this level of the law, there's only two things in this world. You're either a slave or you're a free person. Okay? Let's not piddle-paddle around, because that's not what we're about at this level, okay? Slave or you're a free person, okay? So, what I want to do tonight is to deal with the three distinct, what Noble Drew Ali called the general laws, okay, and his supreme law. So I want to ask everyone, if you please, if you would you star 6 your phone, so so that you can mute out any background noise, because I want to try to open the lines up since there's not that many people on the line, okay? So we're not, out of respect, try to mute out any background noise that you may have, or people speaking, or television running, or whatever, children running across the floor, whatever the case may be, okay? So we just start 64 at this time, everyone. Thank you. All right. Now, the Prophet Noble Drew, he brought two sets of laws. One, his general laws, which primarily had to do with an organization that he founded back as early as 1913. And this organization was at that time called the Ancient Canaanite Temple. Okay? And it later changed names about 6 times as he grew and developed with the conscience of his people. And it changed name to the final name was the Moorish Temple of America Incorporated. That was the final name. But between the Ancient Canaanite Temple in New Jersey and the Moorish Temple of America Incorporated in Chicago, Illinois, Cook County to be specific, there was a change of 6 different names in this one organization. The reason why we say it's the same organization because it was the same man that was heading it. Okay, Noble Drew Ali, the founder. So this is why in the questionnaire it asked the question, what year was the Moorish Temple of America founded? And the answer is 1913. Well, if you know anything about the Moorish Temple of America, you know good and well it was not called the Moorish Temple of America in 1913. However, Noble Drew Ali was the same person that founded the Moorish, was later known today as the Moorish Temple of America. It was him that founded it in 1913. It was not called that, but that's what it was. The purpose and the mission for the Moorish Temple, it never changed. That's why the name was the only thing that would really mattered. Okay, its purpose remained the same. The name may have changed from Canaanite to Moorish Temple of Science, Moorish Temple of Science of the World, Moorish Temple of America, Moorish Temple of America Incorporated, etc. Okay, and many of the Moors, even to this very day, they were claimed to the Moorish Temple of America under Grand Sheikh so-and-so. Federal Grand Sheiks, you got all kinds of state Grand Sheiks and whatnot. The thing about it is that all total, you have well over 200 Grand Sheiks now, including those Grand Sheiks that's in the various penal institutions under the thing. But see, we want to talk about the general laws. All of Noble Drew Ali's general laws were developed under the auspices of the organization that he founded called the Moorish Temple of America. Okay? These were his general laws. Under the general laws, he was able to, his whole thing was try to educate the Moors. This is really what it all boiled about, because you must remember, the state that the Prophet found us in, Moors, this is crucial. If you cannot remember where you were when the Prophet found you, then you won't know where it is that you have to go to now that you have been redeemed. Okay? And that's how important it is. You must remember where you were. In other words, where was your mind when Noble Drew Ali came into your life? And go back to 1912, 1913. Where was the mind of his people at that time, in 1913? Where was the mind of his people? We're not talking about where Noble Drew Ali had been, because he said with the heads of state, heads of country, kingdoms, land, oh man. Noble Drew Ali said with the head, I mean the highest thought pattern that was throughout the ancient Canaan, the Temple of Egypt. He said with the heads of the holy city of Mecca, the head of the Salih family, the Sultan Saud himself, okay? He even said with the heads, what was later known here in the United States, later became known as the president, Brother Woodrow Wilson, okay, who was the head of the Illuminati which is really the head, or the, should I say, the orchestrator for the United States. Okay? The United States then, as well as now, is owned and operated and orchestrated by the Illuminati. In other words, Western Freemasonry. The Illuminati has controlled every president since 1913, when Woodrow Wilson first came into office. He was the president-elect, okay? And at that year, it was 1912, he was running for office. He became president in 1913, I think it was. Okay? Maybe a year off, but I'm somewhere in that area. But anyway, the thing about it is that he developed, with the support, authorization of the head of the Illuminati and the government of the United States, he developed what was known as the ancient Canaanite temple for his people, so that he could teach his people their nationality and their divine creed. Okay? Now, prior to the advent of Noble Drew Ali, although many people have claimed to know so darn much about Islam, and Islam was here prior to the advent of Noble Drew Ali, and no such animal existed. Islam, especially Islam, it was detested, hated, it was even banned completely out from the interior of the whole entire United States. Banned complete. In other words, if you came from the East and you had your Quran with you, you had, if they caught you with it, you had to declare it at the port of authority. You had to send it back to where you came from, ship it, whatever, okay, or throw it overboard, or declare it at the, and go on about your business into the interior without it. They did not allow no mosques to be built. You didn't have nothing, okay, that pertained itself to Islam. It won't know the Islam that you have today, where Moors are having where the Sears Tower, listen to me, where the Twin Towers fell, was imploded, and you have mosques all over the country, virtually every major urban area. That did not exist prior to the advent of Noble Drew Ali. Okay? It was absolutely taboo, absolutely forbidden, and this was, directly written laws. Okay? Noble Drew Ali, when he came with the authority from not only from Egypt, which was the head of the capital dominion of that was now known as Africa, but he also had the authorization and support from the Sultan himself, Sultan Saad of the Holy City, which was the world's super financial power at that time. Okay? And when the Sultan Saad, when he spoke, every nation on earth listened. It wasn't so much that he was Islamic, quite the contrary. It's the fact that for the last almost a century or so, almost 1,200 years, since the advent of Muhammad, all roads led to Mecca. Okay? It wasn't so much as the oil came later. Okay? But it was the fact that they had the world's highest thought as far as education was concerned. And the reason why they had that, because the Mecca, just like through the Holy Prophet Muhammad, they got their education system entirely out of Egypt. All about the stars and the planets and the universe, the components of water, how the body is put together, how to operate do brain surgery and so forth, how to embalm the bodies and the plants and the animals of the sea and the air. And all this right here was the sciences of the Moors that was taught out of Kemet. It was taught to the prophets. Okay? The same way it was taught to Muhammad, it was the same way it was taught to Drew Ali. Now, Drew Ali, but although he was born a little Negro boy in 1886 in the state of North Carolina on an Indian reservation, he left at the age of 16. You must remember, this is the Holy Prophet. This is the law working. Because nowhere else in history before or since had a Negro boy, a little black child, whatever you want to call it, left out of these United States, unescorted by parents, and ended up going to Egypt with the world's highest thoughts, where they wouldn't even teach other people of higher learning, okay, people out of Europe or Japan or anywhere else, because they already had it, or as much as they could get anyway. But where did Noble Drew Ali get, when by the time he got back here in 1913, he knew more about constitutional law than a Harvard graduate. And Harvard, he hadn't been to any of the United States schools. So how did he come back here speaking English the way he did? And I'm talking about a law master. For example, when we talk about his general laws being in the Moorish Science Temple, and we talk about we here at the Moorish American National Government level, the reason why we're teaching what we're doing here at the government, because we're enforcing Noble Drew Ali's supreme laws. His general laws all had to do with the organization that he founded called the Moorish Science Temple, because this is where he found his people at, Moors. Okay? He found his people in the shallow grave of Negro, black, and colored, buried under the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. That's why we entitled the book Exhuming of a Nation, digging up a body, digging up a nation of people that had been buried under constitutional law. It was a shallow grave because everybody on earth could see us. They know that we was there, but we was dead in the water. Couldn't even float. We had no rudder, no nothing, no guideline, nothing. Okay? And yet and still we walk the earth and we speak a language, but it was a dead language because it was not productive. Okay? And this is the kind of condition that Noble Drew Ali found us in as a people. Sleep. I mean, we were snoring, man. We was out of it. Okay? So when he developed his general laws, it was because he in developing those general laws, he had to create a leverage of how to get from the burial site where he found his people at when he got here from the east. When he got back from the east, as a grown man and a prophet, okay? You must remember, he left as a teenager, as a child, in essence, okay? No education, none. By the time he got back 10 years later, he had all this wisdom and the full history about his people. No one else had that. And in fact, no one has had it since then. Okay? So what he did, he created an institution to help educate his people so that they could come out of the shallow grave. Because as it has been prophesied, the code name for his people was Harma Biff. Okay? That was buried in a shallow grave of constitutional law here in the northwest section of the world. Okay. So doing the code name itself, the only way Harma Biff was supposed to be uplifted out of the shallow grave, hold and intact. Write that down. Hold and intact. That's W-H-O-L-E. Hold. Okay, now the piece of temple over here, a piece of nationality over there, a piece of name over here, and a piece of, no, none of that. Whole. W-H-O-L-E. That Harma Biff had to be raised whole and intact. Intact. T-A-C-T. Okay? So, the only way that could be done was that they had to be raised up in such a manner that they would be going from just the opposite of where they were, from dead to life, okay? From unconsciousness to wisdom, okay? Everything had to be just the opposite. In other words, from slavery to freedom. This is what you mean holding intact. And the only way you can be holding intact is because they have been busted up according to the United States Constitution. It's called the 5/5 clause, okay, known as what? 3/5 of all other persons. So 2/5 was taken away. All 5/5, 1/5 is stop with the top, which is the spirit. Then you've got the soul, which is all your thinking, reasoning, willing, understanding, remembrance, etc. Then you've got the body. Then everyone has a nationality, and everyone has a pathway to get back to their creator. Okay? So you have the nationality and the divine creed. These were the two things that was taken away from the Moors during the time of slavery. Noble Drew Ali was the only one to bring it back. So anyone that tells you that Noble Drew Ali was not a prophet, number one, they don't know what they're talking about. They got no faith. But the main thing is they don't know who you are either. Okay? So don't listen to the foolishness. Listen to your heart. Listen to Allah. Where would you be right now if it was not for Noble Drew Ali? Where would you be if you didn't know what a Moorish American was? Okay? Where would you be right now if you did not know what a Muslim was? Where'd you be at right now if you did not know who made you? If you wait for the entire Sunni community to come here and teach you about your nationality, you got a long way coming. Okay? They've been around since the advent of Muhammad. They ain't never taught it. Okay? It's not in the best interest of the Islamic world as they know it for you to know who you are. But Noble Drew Ali did, because he got the teaching from the same place Muhammad got his teaching, the same place Jehoshaphat got his teaching, Abraham and everybody, they all got a teaching from the same place. So Noble Drew Ali's general law had to do with the Moorish science of America, where he could teach his people how to be a man, teach his people how to be a woman, because we didn't know. We did not know. We thought a man was, age 21, and that was maybe. And even at that, you could be 80 years old, and the European, if you felt like, he still call you boy. Okay? Or here's a sister that's a great-grandmother, and with the European at will gal. What the world is that? Okay? No honor, no respect, just property names. Okay? And this is what it is. The Noble Drew Ali come to teach you how to be a man, how to be a woman, how to be a husband, how to be a wife, even how to be a son, how to be a daughter. Now, you may take these lessons a little lightly, but the truth of the matter is, if without these teachings, where would you be? Okay? How can you be a son or a daughter or a husband or a wife without the teacher if you don't even know who you are? That's how important your free national name is. That's in Act 6, your free national name. When you say Moorish America, and then you know you got many groups of Moors right now that play gangs, slave gangs with, I like Brother Africa Mbana Bay, I like the term he used one time. He said playing God games, okay, with your identity, okay? Playing a little God game with your identity, boys. Don't let nobody do that. Your free national name means just that. The first part of your national name is free. Where are you going to be without being free? Okay? This is his general law, is to teach you how to be a member of an organization, okay? Attend your meetings promptly, okay? Showing you the benefit, how to even supply, pay your dues, keep in line with all necessities. We didn't know nothing about that, okay? Because if you do not do that at the organizational level, what would you do at the national level when you find out that indeed you're a nation of people? Okay, because this is what a Moorish American is. A Moorish American is not a member of the Moorish Science Temple or anything else. A Moorish American is a free national name because the Moorish Americans are descendants of the ancient Moabites, who just happen to inhabit the northwestern, southwestern shores of Africa. And a lot of us were here already. Okay? As chapter 45 points out, we are the nationals. We're indigenous to the land. The prophet said, we're home. The Moors, yeah, we're already home. We ain't got to look for home or nothing. We ain't got to go back to no Africa or none of that. Okay? Been there, done that. Been tried, it ain't going to work. We're home now. Okay? But in order to be home, to show the homeowner, you must also show who you are. You must know who you are. So to say that you're Moorish America, and if you think, because a lot of Masonic rule has been, and I come through the Moorish Science Temple, that's where I got my start at, okay? But this is not the end of Noble Drew Ali's work. This is not the end of what he was sent to do. He was not sent here to do it. A prophet was not to develop the Moorish Science of America as a supreme business at the end of his quest. No. Nothing could be further from the truth. That was where he found us at. Okay? Remember, for what purpose was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded? Okay? So that's where he had to begin the duty of a prophet in uplifting his people. He had to start somewhere. So where did he have to start it? He had to start where he found you at. Buried in a shallow grave under constitutional law of the United States of America. Not knowing who you were. You didn't know who your wife was. Your own woman. You didn't know who she was. Okay, I'm speaking to the brothers now. Well, speak to the sisters too. You wouldn't know your own man would kiss you in the mouth. Why? Because your own man has not been in power in 400 years. There's not a sister right now that's breathing the breath of life that's ever seen a conscious Moorish American until now. Okay? And very few have witnessed that. To know that our brother, to know he's a God man, how long has that been? A lot of people talk it, but how many people can walk it? Okay? And to know you, there ain't nothing to be bragging on right now, because we're not in position as a nation of people with our own government. Why? Because, let's talk about the Supreme laws. I want to get into that right now, because I'm going to be showing a balance between the two. I want to go to Black's Law Dictionary, the 6th edition, and dealing with the word supreme. Okay? The word supreme itself, the definition for the word supreme means superior to all other things. That's an answer. The definition for the word supreme means to be superior to all other things. So when the prophet entered and said that his supreme laws will be handed down to you later, this means that his general law was going to be superseded. There was a more superior set of laws was going to be handed down to the very people that he was sent to redeem. You were not supposed to stay there stagnated into his general law. Why? Because you had some other things to do. You had some more growing to do. Okay? You had to become what the prophet called independent, because you were just an embryo in the mind when Noble Drew Ali found you. Okay? Just a baby in the mind. You didn't know how to think. That's right. I said it. Well, Noble Drew Ali said it best. He said, Lord, if I could just get you to thinking. Lord, if I could just get you to thinking. Because you are not thinking when you don't want to come together in harmony with your brothers and sisters, when you don't want to get your own yeses out of the muck and the mire, the 14th Amendment of another man's government. It's nothing wrong with the United States. The United States was founded by their forefathers for the earthly salvation. There's nothing wrong with that. All right? The thing where the wrong come in at is for you to lay in the shallow grave and be property of the United States where you don't have to be. There's no more slave laws that's enforceable. Okay? And just because you got Negro, colored, black on your birth certificate, that's not enforceable. It's up to you to wake up and say, no, wait a minute, stop. Okay? That's up to you. But then, in order for you to do that, you must do what? Proclaim. You got to proclaim your nationality and your divine creed. That's something you must do. Can't nobody do it for you. And praise the Lord, it's not in the power of the United States to teach a Moorish American how to be a Moorish American. The United States ain't never been a Moorish American. What the hell do they know? Okay? Oh, let me correct it. What the hell do they know? All right? So when it comes down to the word supreme, it simply means superior to all other things. Look at the definition, like even the Supreme Court. Is the appellate court existing in most of the states? In other words, when all other lower courts fail, you can always go to the Supreme Court of a particular state, or in this case, Supreme Court of the federal level, if you want to go to that height. In other words, that's as high as you can go. It's a supreme level. Okay? The supreme law of the land. You is the Constitution. Okay? This is the reason why when we introduced to the Moorish, well, the Presbyterian, they done changed the Constitution. That's supposed to be the divine Constitution, Moorish Temple of America. No, remember, you're not supposed to stay in the Moorish Temple of America. You're supposed to be taught there. Okay? You're not supposed to live there and die there. You're supposed to be educated there, and then out from the Sunday school come the guidance of the nation. Okay? That's what the Moorish Temple was for. Noble Drawley, what is the duty of a prophet, Moors? Okay? It's to save nations from the wrath of. This is the duty of every prophet. Every prophet that ever existed. That's the reason why. Don't listen to them people talk about they Saudi and they Arab and they can speak Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and all. Look, what difference does it make? Well, all of them, ain't none of them right now. Find me an Arab that's going to teach you your free national name. Go to a mosque anywhere in the world right now that will teach a Moorish American how to be a Moorish American. Oh, let's go to the real top. Let's go to the supreme level. Go to any mosque. Let's go to the holy city of Mecca and find out anybody that's going to teach you your divine creed, teach you Islamism. Ain't Mecca the capital of the Islamic world? Go there and let them teach you Islamism as taught by your forefathers. Aren't they the founders of the world's first religious creed? Okay. But the Islam that they have, if you look at chapter 45 that we have today, the same Islam that they're teaching out, that is not the same Islam that was taught to Muhammad. It's not the same Islam that was taught to Drew Ali. It's not the same Islam that our forefathers taught. How in the world you going to call yourself a Muslim and you teaching Islamism and you're going to enslave your mother and father? Something's wrong with that picture. Okay? So when it comes down to the supreme laws of Noble Dwelly, they have to do with his people being themselves Moorish Americans. Okay? Let me show you where the transition comes in at. Now, we know about Act 5 of the bylaws, okay? Act 5 lets you know, wait a minute, he lets you know that the general laws is all dealing with the organization and they're limited, okay? They're very, very limited. All organizations are limited. In fact, at the United Nations level, they call them NGOs, non-governmental organizations or non-governmental groups, okay? NGOs, okay? Now, the prophet reiterates that you must remember at all costs, Noble Drew Ali is a man of law. He's a prophet of law and law enforcement at that. Okay? He can enforce law, not just make it, but enforce it. So if he can make law and enforce law, what do you think you have the power to do? Okay? So when it comes down to the organization, let's look at the limitations of his general laws, okay? Number one, the organization Moorish Scientific America is not to do what? Cause any confusion. No, I'm sorry, that's number two. Number one is the organization. Okay, that's number one. If you don't believe it's an organization, that's in the divine Constitution. Okay, let's look at this Holy Quran because Noble Drew Ali said that in order to you to be a good Moorish leader, my faith is in Allah and the Prophet, because they have never failed me. For the first time in my life, I done found something that would not lie to me. So when it comes down to no, it's not that. A call comes to say Kobe Bryant. Well, it's in Michigan. So anyway, it just might be that I was with contact about a basketball player. But anyway, when it comes down to these the organization level more, you got to pay attention to what your prophet says in order for you to be a good Moorish leader. Look in the whole Quran, and what does it say when it comes down to the Moorish Science Temple? He says, point blank, all right, that the Moorish Science Temple market is a lawful chartered organization. He repeats it again. It is a lawfully chartered. It's lawful. Pay attention. Remember I told you the prophet was a man of law, right? That his organization had to be what? An organization that demonstrates law. You was buried in the law in the shallow grave of law, the constitution of another man's government. So Noble Ali come with the power to unlock that shallow grave and release you and let you out of there. Okay? So that means he had to have a law that was far superior than the law that held you down. So he demonstrates that the Moorish Science Temple of America is a lawfully chartered organization. He never once left that. Okay? It's a lawfully chartered organization. Okay? All right? And it's incorporated. Okay? You must remember that. All right? It's a lawfully chartered organization. And the good thing about that is that when and he says that he have chartered, that he can issue charters to every state throughout the United States. Okay? I mean, what's that? Fitting of the prophecies, ayat 4. The Moorish Science Temple Market is a lawfully chartered and incorporated organization. Incorporated where? Okay? How can you have a government or a nation that's incorporated inside of another government or another nation? Okay? You can't, it don't happen. It don't happen. Can you imagine Saudi Arabia being incorporated in, I don't know where, in the United States? Can you imagine that? Okay? So only organizations can be incorporated into other organizations under auspices of a government or a nation. Okay? One nation can have the power to own millions of organizations. I'm talking about millions of them. Not one organization, including especially the Moorish Science Temple, can not own one nation. Of course, I've heard a lot of Moors trying to express to the contrary, that's in the Moorish Science Temple. They love it. So I don't blame it. I loved it too when I was there. I got no problem. But you must remember, Noble Ali is the one, and Allah is the one that said it's got limitation, not present pain. Okay? And you want to get caught up in the limitations and try to make them, well, the Vatican is the, what, ain't the Vatican the one that enslaved you? Excuse me? When they get 25 cents off for every dollar? For every Moorish American every Moor that was enslaved in the West African slave, where do you think that these cats got all the gold from? All for you. And you got to know to put it in your mouth. Anyway, any subordinate temple that desires to receive a charter, the prophet has them to institute where every state throughout the United States, etc. Okay? But again, do not overlook the fact that not once did Noble Ali take the Moorish Science Temple of America and put it to any other level other than being an organization. Nowhere. Okay? It don't have that kind of power. He would never limit you to that level, okay? And to show you how effective that is, you got everyone throughout the United States. What United States? Are you speaking about the 50 states of another man's government? And every state has got its own jurisdiction. The state of Utah ain't got jack to do with Oklahoma. Okay? Connecticut don't like California no way. Okay, because everybody's in conflict. Everybody got their own star. So now he's going to spread this. Why? Because his people is property. Look up the word property, or I'm sorry, the word person, as used in the 14th Amendment. All property born or naturalized within the states of the United States and subject to the jurisdiction. Now that you think you're citizen. That's an organization mentality. Okay? Now you want to take and say, well, look, you can't be. How many of us have ever heard this one? If you're not a member of the Moorish Scientific, you're not a Moorish American. How many of y'all ever heard that one before? Okay? Come on now. What did this say about Noble Drew Ali? Acts 6, when he says the Moorish Americans, Noble Drew Ali's talking now. And his supreme law. He says the Moorish Americans are descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwest and southwestern shores of Africa. Common sense ought to tell you more. If the Moorish Scientific was founded in 1913, what in the blank does that got to do with you? As far as your decent nature is concerned, that he refers to in Acts 6. The Moorish Americans are what? Descendants. And when you read the Quran and look at the same word descendant, he says that no man has got the power to change another man from the descendant nature of his forefathers, unless his power exceeds beyond the great universe creator Allah himself. So that means that when you join these different little groups and clubs and organizations, you know who they are: Washington, Great Seal, ISIS, the Aboriginal law firms, and other people. Get your nationality card, Okay, great. But guess what? That's not your free national name. No. That's not the one that Allah ordained for you to have and call yourself a people. Okay? And what in the world are you going to take on the Indian name, for what? How in the world are you going to call yourself the mothers and fathers of the entire human family and then mess around and trace yourself through your childhood? The Indians are your so-called individual children. Any tribe. You go all the way back. All you got to do is look at chapter 25. If you want to know what your children look like, Moors, then look at chapter 45. That's it, 25, I'm sorry. Look at this week's chapter 45. All right. I'm talking about the Nicaraguan, Egyptian, Chilean, people of South Salvador, all the Americans. Look, if you really want to know Japanese and Chinese, let's go. Okay? Now, all of a sudden, you want to go trace yourself through your children that you to put on this earth. Come on now, think about it, boys, okay? All right? So the Prophet's supreme laws, all of his supreme laws, have to do with, you must remember, the supreme law is what? The highest that you can go. Okay? So what is the ultimate purpose for Noble Drew Ali as a holy prophet? To save nations, okay? So the salvation of a nation of people, the redemption of a nation of people, or digging them out that shallow grave and put them on their feet, that sure foundation stone, so they can be upright, independent, and fearless as a nation. These are his supreme laws. Name me a nation of people that do not have their constitution. Okay? And you want to know what in the world is the divine constitution of Moorish America? Oh, Lord, he done changed the prophet's constitution. When you look at the Constitution of the United States, you don't have Jack to say, and that's what buried you. How come you cannot have the divine constitution since everything else about you is holy? Okay, why can't you have a divine constitution of your own country, your own Moorish? What do you think of Moorish America is? Didn't the Prophet Noble Drew Ali say you was home? He the one said you was home. Okay? And you still looking down the street, around the corner, because you some blood or crip, and think you, come on, Moors, all right? Think. All you got to do is think. We're not being derogatory against our brothers and sisters. Everybody's entitled to their own piece of the struggle. However, it's time now for the game to be over with. Noble Drew Ali's been off the scene 82 years. Okay? He's been here almost 100 we got the nerve enough to look cockeyed at each other, talking about what this Mo is and what that other Mo ain't got. This Mo here, he wrong, and the other one, she ain't right. And meanwhile, where you at? Oh, was it Jennifer Hudson? Where you at, Mo? Where you at? Where you supposed to be a nation of people, where you at? Where you at when you're supposed to have your own divine constitution of your own country and your own government? Where you at? Okay? Where you at when you're supposed to be fulfilling the prophecy of your own Moorish American prayer? Aren't you the one that said, Allah is your protector and your guide and your salvation? Where you at? Okay? When it comes down to being husband and wife and having power and control over your own children and stuff, where's your family? Where you at? Where's your nation at? Where are you supposed to proclaim the government in which you live, when you can proclaim your nationality? Proclaim your nationality in front of an organization don't get you nowhere. That's been there, done that. Okay? How many of us have proclaimed their nationality in the Moorish Scientific or some other lawfully chartered organization? Okay? And where is it at? Where does your proclamation go to? Where does the proclaiming go to? To their home office.
That's right.
And where else? Unless it go to the FBI. But that's to another man's government. Some of them will do that. And they tell you they're taking it to the FBI. And if you think about masonry, all those temples and things that's under Western Freemasonry, well, let me see, how best can I put this? It's a very loyal subject, a very loyal slave that will refuse to leave his master after the chain has been removed from his neck, after the gate has been opened, okay? After he's got a rifle owner outside the gate hollering, here, Moorish American, here, the Moorish American, and you still stay there with the slave master, okay? You keep finding ways because I'm a 33rd degree, okay? How in the world, and you brothers, especially you brothers, please listen, brother. I know you get your little attitude of Pleasant Bay thing. That don't bother me because I had to step down here to be chairman just to help you, so that don't bother me. But the truth of the matter is, let's take a real good look. How in the world can you be part of a fraternal order? You brother get off in the corner by yourself and think y'all all this and all that. How in the world can you make it without your women? Where you going? Where are you going without your women? Well, I'll tell you what. Where have you been without your women? Let's see. 400 years, they ain't had near woman. Now, where you been? Where you at? Oh, powerless. Powerless. Don't own no government, ain't got no constitution, no recognition, don't nobody know you here. Even Katrina couldn't help you. Okay? They wouldn't let Castro, Morocco, and nobody else come in here and help you. Why? Because you a Mason. And somebody in some fraternal order told you that you can make it without your women. Because you got a secret. Don't you know the secret is you? You're the biggest joke and the biggest secret on the planet. Anytime a man walk around with no testicles, what you think that is? Okay? Yeah, I said it. Because that's what you might well not have. No, you don't need no woman because all you need is your fraternal order. Excuse me, but ain't Masonry the same unit, the same organization that buried us in the first place? And told you that you couldn't be a man till you got 21 or when they elect you. Maybe you had to be a 33rd degree. Okay? You had to be a Shriner, and then you'll be all right. Show me, brothers, one African man that has been freed, has his own nation, their own government, their own country, through Western Freemasonry. Just one. I'm talking about from Prince Hall to Jones Bay. Braswell Bay to whoever. It don't make no difference. Bailey Hill, etc. Show me. Okay? Taj Tariq, name them. CM Bay, name them. Show show me a nation that's been free, got its own nation, own government, own people, okay? Please, please do that. Just name me one. All right, because, I'm just in and out of computers, and I don't like Facebook, so maybe you can help me. Okay? And show me any other nation that's wherever they at, and they ain't got their women with them. Okay? No, they left the women somewhere. They ain't there. They don't need them. Don't need no children. But they gonna call it. Oh, there is a nation like that. Sure is. Over in Italy somewhere. With Italy. Yeah, the Vatican. A bunch of men running around talking about they're the smallest nation on earth, and don't have no sex with no women. Just a bunch of men and a bunch of little boys. I wonder why. Okay? And they want to call themselves a nation. How in the world you going to have a nation patting yourself after the Vatican and they don't like women? Then they want women to be priests. Come on now. Look, more. It's time for us to wake up and realize Noble Drew Ali's Supreme Law has to do entirely with us being a nation of people. Well, with our own government, our own flag, our own land, our own free national name, our own women and children. Okay? Yes, period. Okay? You cannot. These are Noble Drew Ali's Supreme Laws. If you want to know what is the Moorish American national government, why so many people are playing games with it, you ain't no government, because I've been on Facebook. That's a Pleasant Bay thing. Just to get you misdirected away from your profit. You've never heard Pleasant Bay say turn your back on your own profit. Not once. You can't find nobody else. No one on the planet can say that. Be truthful, okay? So what I'm saying is this. What about Noble Drew Ali's Supreme Law? We're here to enforce that. Enforce his laws. All of his supreme laws has us being a nation of people. Okay? It's simple as that. If you don't believe me, look it up. Find out any way out of this mess that we're in, other than having your own constitution, your own government, your own one free national name, your own God, your own prophet, etc., etc. Okay? Show me any other way out besides that. The way that Noble Drew Ali said, in order for us to be redeemed as a nation, that we are clean and pure nation of people. Show me any other way. Okay? That's a challenge. Okay? So, I'll open up the floor, and we'll entertain anything that's got to do with the general laws or the supreme laws. I'll make it simple for you. Hold on.